Welcome to the deep dive. We got a really interesting YouTube transcript sent in by one of you.
Oh, yeah. What's it covering?
It's all about first aid, but specifically the absolute first things you need to think about.
Ah, okay. The foundational stuff.
Exactly. So our mission today is to, dig into that transcript and pull out the key ideas, the stuff that really needs to stick.
Makes sense. Because when you think first aid, often you jump straight to bandages or CPR, right?
Totally. But this source, it really hammers home something else first.
Let me guess. Your own safety.
You got it. Safety first. It's the absolute non-negotiable starting point.
It sounds simple, almost obvious, but it's surprisingly easy to forget in the moment.
Yeah, the transcript kind of gets into the why, which I thought was really good.
Well, the core reason is pretty stark, isn't it? If you rush in without thinking,
you become victim number 2.
Exactly. One person needs help. Suddenly, 2 people need help. And if you're injured, well, you can't help anyone.
That urge to just jump in immediately, it's strong.
It really is. So you almost have to consciously, take a breath, assess. Just for a second.
That 1 second could change everything. Okay, so moving past that core idea, what are the practical steps the transcript highlights for staying safe?
Right, practicals. First up is infection control, protecting yourself.
Okay, so gloves, masks, that kind of thing.
Yep, personal protective equipment, PPE. The transcript mentions gloves and masks specifically.
And, it feels like we're all much more tuned into that now, doesn't it, after the COVID pandemic back in 2019?
Oh, absolutely. I think that whole experience made barriers, masks and things, much more intuitive for people. It's not such a strange concept anymore.
True. But what if you don't have gloves handy? Does the transcript offer anything there?
It does, actually. A really practical tip.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It suggests using something simple, like a plastic bag.
Huh. Just over your hands.
Yeah. As a makeshift barrier. Obviously not as good as proper gloves, but it's about reducing that direct contact, especially, if there's bleeding involved. Stops potential infections passing either way.
That's actually really useful. Simple, but potentially life-saving. Okay, what else? There was a bit about moving injured people, right? If they're in a dangerous spot.
Yes, that's a big one. Imagine someone's collapsed in the middle of a road.
Right. Awful situation. You can't just leave them there.
Definitely not. Moving them to safety is necessary. But how you move them is critical.
And the transcript warns against just, grabbing them.
Very strongly, yes. It specifically says, don't just sling someone over your shoulder or drag them without care.
Why is that so risky?
Well, think about it. If they have a potential neck or spine injury, which you might not know.
Oh, okay.
That kind of rough movement, the twisting and bending, could cause permanent damage, paralysis even, or make an existing injury way worse.
That's a really scary thought. So what's the recommended way?
The transcript calls it moving the patient as one block.
1 block?
Yeah. The idea is to keep their head, neck, and spine all aligned, as straight as possible, like they're a single rigid unit.
How do you do that in practice?
Ideally, you'd use something rigid underneath them, like a wooden board if one's around. But even a large cloth, like a sheet or a strong blanket, can work. You slide it under them carefully, then use it to pull them straight, keeping everything stable.
And you should do this even if you don't know if it's a spinal injury?
Yeah.
Even if they just fainted?
That's what the source emphasizes. Because you just don't know for sure what injuries might be there, especially after an accident or even a sudden collapse.
Better safe than sorry, essentially.
Exactly. Assume the worst in terms of potential spinal injury and move them carefully. It's the safest approach.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Next up was electrical shock. Another really dangerous one.
Hugely dangerous. And the transcript is crystal clear on the absolute first step here.
Which is?
Do not touch the person until the power source is off.
Disconnected.
Completely.
Right, because electricity travels
instantly. And if you touch them while they're still connected to the source, the current goes right through you too.
The transcript also mentioned water, didn't it? Being extra careful around water.
Yes. Absolutely critical. Water conducts electricity incredibly well. So even a damp floor or wet clothing increases the risk massively.
Okay, so first, ensure the power is off. How do you do that safely? You can't just grab wires.
No, definitely not. And don't use anything metal to try and push in the way or knock the power source off.
Because metal conducts too.
Precisely. The transcript says use something non-conductive. A dry wooden stick, a plank, something like that. Use that to break the contact or, if possible and safe, turn off the main switch or breaker.
So wood, not metal. Got it. Again, it's about avoiding becoming that second victim.
Always. That's the constant theme. Okay, what about unstable places? Like after an earthquake or a building collapse?
Yeah, the transcript touched on that too. That sounds incredibly risky for a rescuer.
It absolutely is. The main point here is assessment again, but this time of the environment itself.
So before rushing in to help someone who might be trapped,
You need to check, is the collapse finished? Is there still stuff falling? Is the area stable enough for you to enter safely?
that must be incredibly difficult, seeing someone hurt and having to hesitate.
It goes against every instinct, probably. But the transcript is quite blunt. If the situation is too unstable, if your safety is seriously at risk,
You shouldn't go in.
it says the right thing to do might be to withdraw and wait for professional rescue teams, people with the right equipment and training for that environment.
Wow. That's a hard call, but logically.
Logically, it's the only call sometimes. Again, a dead or injured rescuer helps no one. Prioritizing your own life in that extreme scenario is the correct action.
Okay. So, safety first, always. Protect from infection, move people correctly, be super careful with electricity and unstable structures. That seems to cover the main safety points from the transcript.
Yeah, those are the big ones it lays out before you even think about assessing the patient's actual injuries.
Right, and it does mention assessment as the next step, doesn't it? Which sounds like a whole other deep dive, maybe.
Oh, definitely. Patient assessment is a huge topic in itself, but none of it matters if you haven't secured the scene and yourself first. This safety part is the absolute foundation.
So, pulling it all together then from the source material, rule number 1, etched in stone, your safety. Priority 0.
Couldn't say it better.
And that means practical things, like using protection, even a plastic bag if needed. Moving people like that one block method if you have to move them.
Yep. And knowing the drill for electrical shock power off first, use wood, not metal, and assessing structural safety before jumping in.
It really reframes the initial moments of an emergency, doesn't it? It's not just about the injured person. It's about managing the whole situation safely.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you that crucial pause, that framework, to act effectively without adding to the problem.
Okay, so here's a final thought for everyone listening. Picture a common emergency you might actually see. Maybe someone falls down the stairs at home, or you witness a fender bender, or someone faints on the train.
Everyday possibilities.
How would actively thinking safety first, checking the scene, checking for dangers before you focus only on the person watching, change how you'd react in that first split second?
It's a good exercise. And it shows, like this deep dive did, that just this initial safety step in first aid is packed with vital info. Makes you realize how much there is to know and maybe other areas we could explore down the line.